Mhm. Okay, very good. So, good afternoon, and welcome back to the last installment in our series on awakening the mind in life and at the time of death, cultivating an awakened mind, a mind that wants to be calm, clear, compassionate, and wise. So, I said we would start the afternoon session with a picture or two. And so I'm going to take a moment just to, if they're available, I'm going to check and see if my photos from earlier today are available here on the on my app. And if they're not, that's okay. We can look. I can send them to you later on. Yeah. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, they're not available. I was hoping I could show you some pictures from today's visit to Columbus KTC. But just what we did this morning was they put up a cardboard model of what our new shrine would look like, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, like I say, I'll send you a couple of pictures about that later. So we'll start as we did this morning with the taking of refuge and the engendering of the bodhisattva attitude, making the aspiration that this practice and study that we're doing will help us to benefit all sentient beings. I'll recite a short prayer in English. In the Buddha, his teaching, and the order most excellent, we take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may we attain Buddhahood for the sake of all that lives. And a short prayer to the masters of the lineage. O Paldens Hawe Lama Rinpoche, Dagi Chiwar Pede Denshula, Kadran Jimbuka Ne Jesante, Ku Sum Toking Udrup Saldu So. Okay. So this morning we talked about building that bridge from mindfulness to compassion and transformation. And we began to talk about the strategies that we need to employ to expand these practices throughout our entire life. And just as a brief review, this morning's class was about the 5 strategies or the 5 forces that we can use in order to deepen our Dharma practice. And just to review them briefly, there is the force of impetus or motivation, thinking I'm going to work very hard on cultivating the bodhisattva motivation in everything that I do. And the second is the force of familiarization by doing cultivating a virtuous mind and cultivating virtuous actions all day long, whenever you can. This can help to expand your practice of bodhicitta. And then the third is virtuous seeds, which is to do as much as you can to create the atmosphere within yourself for wisdom to grow. And then repudiation, the strategy of repudiation. When you notice ego-cherishing thoughts arise, take action to begin to engage them. You don't try to scare them away or chase them away. You engage them using strategies such as the slogan, 3 objects, 3 poisons, 3 seeds of virtue that we talked about today. And then finally, the force of aspiration, making a dedication of all of your goodness to all beings. So we talked about that. And then we also talked about what to do and how to expand your practice of bodhicitta at the time of death. The force of virtuous seeds at the time of death is to at least mentally give away possessions to reduce one's clinging to them. And then the force of aspiration means to make enlightenment the focus of your aspiration by practicing whatever you can to bring your mind to the idea that you're going to train in the bodhisattva way, no matter where you are and no matter what happens. And then again, the force of repudiation is to look at one's own ego fixation with wisdom and trying to set aside selfish concerns. And then impetus or motivation means to practice the aspiration to be a practitioner. And then finally, familiarization is to bring to mind what one has practiced in the past. Then after that, we talked a little bit about the appropriate motivation for a person who has a terminal diagnosis and a person who knows they're going to die. And we spoke about 2 examples or 3 examples of people who had been given such a diagnosis and had taken different paths. The attorney who was worried about her cat and her home and didn't give her any rest. And then when she finally got those 2 things worked out, then she felt some peace in her mind. And then the other story of the other woman who once she heard about these teachings set about to give away her items and to gradually bless and dismiss her friends and say goodbye to them one by one in person. That and then I want part of this Gita method for passing away. When we were in 3-year retreat, we said to Kempo Karthar, I see that my internet connection is unstable, so I guess I'm back into the freeze up mode here now that I'm back in the rural area. So I'm sorry if it freezes up from time to time. That if we can have someone with us at the time of death who can remind us of our Dharma practice, this is a wonderful thing. And for some people, their advanced directives, like the living will and the DNR and so forth, also include a spiritual advanced directive explaining who they would like to be called and who they would like to have pray with them as they're passing. And so he also gives here some descriptions of how a person might conduct themselves when they pass away. Kempo Karthar Rinpoche spoke about this when we were in 3-year retreat. He said, not everyone is going to be a really, really strong Dharma practitioner. And he said that if they have a very difficult time, he said, it's really good to encourage them to practice the mantra Om Mani Padme Hung, the compassion mantra of Chenrezig, because he said that's a really, really powerful mantra to do at the time of death. And he said the other thing that they could do at the time of dying would be the practice of Tonglen. He said that is fairly easy and is described in the Great Path of Awakening, which it is here. He says, Jamgon Khantrul says, while the main point is to practice these 5 forces single-mindedly, accompanying actions also are important. So he said, physically, if a person is nearing the time of death, they can sit in the 7-point meditation posture that we learned when we first learned how to practice meditation. Or if they're not able to do that, they should lie down on their right side and rest their cheek on the right hand. And this is a really easy posture to do, just lying down on the right side and resting the cheek on the right hand. He also gives here the idea of blocking the right nostril and so forth. But you don't necessarily need to do that. But if you can, that's great, because it brings the breath in through the left nostril. Buddha Shakyamuni himself passed away in this posture of lying on the flat while lying on the right side with his face on his hand. And this is sometimes noted in statuary as the reclining Buddha. And there are both small and large versions of this statue all over the world. So once one has placed oneself in the posture, he said one should begin by meditating on love and compassion. and then train in sending and taking, meaning Tonglen, sending and receiving or sending and taking, in conjunction with the coming and going of the breath. Then he says, then at the end of your period of Tonglen, without clinging mentally to anything, one can rest evenly in a state of knowing that birth and death, samsara, and nirvana are all projections of mind, and that the mind itself is not a material object. And in this state, he said, one should continue to breathe as well as one can. And Jamgon Kongtrul concludes by saying there are many highly regarded instructions on how to die, but none, it is said, is more wonderful than this one. So it's something that all of us can take some advice from. Khenpo Rinpoche said he said death is something that everybody does, but very few people prepare for. So anything that you can do to prepare yourself for this is going to be really helpful, because you remember, if we go all the way back to the beginning, quoting my friend Jan, who said at the time of death, the only thing that goes with you is your mind. And that your mind, which has been your companion your entire life, is going to be with you at the time of death. And so if you can train your mind and take care of your mind and place your mind under the care of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and meditate and practice at that time of death, then it will be a different experience than if you don't. So that's something that I just wanted to mention. And then he talks about using a salve and some ashes put to the crown of the head. But this is not necessary these days, because we have other items that serve the same function, which is drawing one's attention to the top of the head by touching the top of the head, because it's said that the mind, being non-material, departs the body at the time of death, and that upon departing, you can continue to influence the mind by attracting the attention to the top of the head. So this allows the consciousness to come and rest in a place that is very, very close to the top of the head, and this provides an improved experience of passing away, as opposed to someone holding onto your feet or something like that. It's a little bit easier to practice meditation in that way. So I don't know if anybody has questions about these instructions, but I'm happy to address any questions you might have about the posture and doing Tonglen at the time of passing or anything like that. So if anybody has questions about that. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to this. I really do appreciate this. And I hope that this is of help to you in some way, whether it's helpful to you or someone you know. Because as I said, everybody passes away from this life, but if we don't think about it in advance, we're missing an opportunity. Why? Why are we missing an opportunity? Well, that's because it is said that that the Buddha nature that is within all of us, the mind that has the capacity to awaken to its own nature, is present with us at all times. But if we learn how to meditate upon it, we can actually pass away with in a state of meditation, and it could actually lead to our attainment of Buddhahood at the time of death. And so as a result, it's often taught that being able to practice any form of meditation at the time of death is a good idea. And so I had a friend, one of my 3-year retreat sisters, who passed away just a few months after retreat ended. She had gone into retreat knowing, but not telling anyone, that she had cancer. And it was her hope that through meditation, she might cure her cancer, but it didn't happen. So she did pass away a few months later, but she passed away in the presence of our teacher, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche. And she passed away in a state of meditation. And he said that her heart remained warm for several hours after her death, indicating that she was resting in meditation at that time. And he said to me, he said, it is a shame that she had to die so young because she was only in her 50s. But he said she died very well and that she had a transformative death that was blessed in many ways. So that's just something to let you know that these stories that you hear about people passing away in a state of meditation, it doesn't just mean the lamas who were born in Tibet and raised in Tibet. The Western people also have this potential, and so it's something hopefully that this will help inspire you to your practice. Let's see. No thoughts, no comments. I'm just double checking, looking at chat. Okay. All right. Well, in that case, oh yes, thanks very much, Catherine. She's just placed in chat the Bardo Interval of Possibility book is likewise available as a PDF at Namse Bangso Books. Thanks very much. Yeah, you can click that link and get the book for free. I've taught this book
I
many times. Yes.
I also wanted to say that Judith Leaf, who was a student was a student of Trungpa Rinpoche, she's still alive and teaching. Um, Wrote a book in about 2001 called Making Friends with Death, which is really excellent, not only for your preparing for your own death, but it's very much geared towards being with people who are dying. And it's in 6 parts, and she uses the paramitas as the
Oh.
framework for the book in each section, and is really just amazing, for how to be helpful, how to make yourself helpful to other people. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I'll drop a link in that too. And I'm going to send you all these links so you can send them out to everybody
No,
too.
this is great. No, I really, really appreciate you sharing that because, these are the resources that we need, right? We need these now. And it's really great to know that so many great minds and great hearts are trying to help us work through these things. Thank you. Yay. Um, so a couple of folks from the Columbus Karma Take Some Choling have asked for a little bit of a review of the processes of death and a little bit of what to expect at that time. And because Lama Karma Drodol was in Columbus recently, and he gave the empowerment of the Buddha Amitabha. At least I think that's what he gave. Oh boy, I'm embarrassed to say that because it just happened. Okay, so in any case, but he was also asked to teach a little bit about the bardos. And the word bardo means in between. We are currently in a bardo called the bardo of this life, that lasts from birth until death. And then after that, we are in a bardo that is called the bardo of dying, and after that is the bardo of the clear light, the appearance of the clear light, experience of awakening, and then after that there's the bardo of becoming. So which is as our mind prepares. So I need to say that I'm basing my presentation on the presentation. I'm basing my presentation on the presentation in Bardo interval of possibility, because there are different presentations of the Bardo and different presentations of the dying process. In order to talk about the dying process, I need to talk about the process of a mind coming to reside in a body in the first place. And so although these teachings frequently begin by discussing what happens at the time of death, one can also describe what happens at the moment of conception. And in that particular model of description, it describes that there is both a physical and spiritual component from the father and the mother that come together at the time of conception, and that a child begins to grow from the coming together of the element from the father and the element from the mother, which is something we all learned when we learned about the biology of reproduction. And sometimes that life continues, sometimes that life ends before the child is born. But in any case, this element from the father and the mother, both the spiritual element as well as the physical element, reside within us for our entire life. And when the physical form of a child forms in the womb, there is something that there's a subtle body that forms at the same time. And the element from the father resides at the top of the head, and the element from the mother resides at the bottom of what is called the central channel in the psychic or subtle body. And so this this element, this psychic element from the father and the psychic element from the mother, reside apart from one another for the entirety of our life. At the father element is at the top of the central channel, which is said to be the top of the central channel is 8 finger widths back from one's original hairline. And so often you'll feel a small depression in the skull at that place. Those of you who are trained in medical things understand that there are several fontanelles in the skull. This is the one that's farther back. And so in any case, this is the top of what is called the central energy channel in the body. The father element remains there. The mother element remains 4 finger widths below the navel at the culmination of the central channel, 4 finger widths below the navel. And at the time of dying, there's a process that happens called dissolution. Dissolution. And what happens is that as the body becomes weak and is close to dying, these elements from the father and the mother begin to move. And this again is all explained in Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche's book, Bardo Interval of Possibility. So if you can't follow the process here in this description, you can look at it in his book. The dissolution of the elements is the name given to this process of dissolution. It is said in Tibetan medicine that the body is composed of 5 elements. Earth is all of the body's solid structures, such as the bones and the skeleton. Water, which is all of the parts of the body that are liquid, blood and lymph and so on. The third element is fire, which is the warmth of the body. The next element is air, which is our breath. And the 5th and final element is space. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, when he describes the space, he says you can think about space a couple different ways. You can eat, he said, but the most common explanation is that space refers to the spaces in between the internal organs of the body. And so what happens at the time of death is that these elements begin to weaken. And as they weaken, their activity begins to cease. And as their activity ceases, this is called the dissolution of that particular element. Khenpo Rinpoche in his book reminds us that this can take place over a long period of time or a short period of time, and that it is different for each person. The order that he gives in the book, he said, is just a general outline and doesn't necessarily mean that this will be true for you or for others who you are accompanying. So, how does it begin? He said that it begins with the dissolution of the earth element. The body physically becomes weak and, in some cases, unable to sustain its posture. It's unable to sustain its motion and its posture and its activity. The body becomes physically weak. A person has difficulty moving. That's the dissolution of the earth element. The next element to dissolve is frequently the water element. The mouth becomes dry, the eyes and other moist structures of the body become dry, and the person becomes very thirsty. And this is the drying up or the dissolution of the water element. Next is the dissolution of the fire element. The warmth of the body begins to withdraw. The warmth of the body withdraws from the extremities in toward the heart. And this is called the dissolution of the fire element. The air element is considered to be dissolved when the breath, which supports the life wind that fills the central channel, when the breath ceases, that's considered to be the dissolution of the air element. And I mentioned that that at conception, the father and mother element are joined, and then as the child grows in the womb, the central channel of the psychic body forms, and when the child draws their breath as they breathe in after birth, this breath fills the central channel with what is called a subtle energy called the life wind, which is not really a material wind. It's an energetic experience, and it's an energetic wind. And this fills the central channel, keeping the mother element at the spot below the navel, and the father element at the spot at the crown of the head, keeps them apart at the top and bottom of the central channel, maintaining health, vigor, and well-being. Then, when the air element dissolves, the life wind begins to fail and weaken. And at this time, the element of space dissolution begins. The space element is a subtle dissolution, as opposed to the more physical ones that we talked about earlier. The earth being the structures of the earth element, being the structures of the body, the water element being the liquid elements of the body, the fire being the warmth of the body, and the air being the breath. Those being more physically connected. But the space element, its dissolution takes place in three parts. First, and this will be different for each individual person, but generally, the first element to begin moving is the father element. It falls from the top of the central channel toward the psychic center of the heart. And as it moves, there may be an inner experience for the person who is dying of white light. In fact, in this book, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche describes the passing away of a man named Michael, who was a member of the Columbus Karma Take Some Choling Center, to which I belong, who came to live at KTD and served as its secretary for 17 years. As he was dying from cancer, he was visited by Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche and others from KTD Monastery, and they were in his room when he passed away. And as he was dying, he could still speak. And in fact, the subtle dissolution began before his breath stopped. And he could still speak and, in fact, described what was happening. Khenpo Rinpoche said this is not altogether unknown. It is a little unusual, but it's not altogether unknown that the subtle body dissolution can begin before the breath stops. It can. And he said, and this is what's responsible for so many descriptions of people who have had near-death experiences of white light, for example, and have had experiences of speaking to those who have passed away before them, their parents, for example, or children, and having a vision experience during this time, a visionary experience of those who have already passed away. And so this, of course, some people will call them hallucinations, but then there can be also terrifying hallucinations depending on the karma of the individual. But what is actually happening is that the father element is beginning to move toward the heart, which allows this experience of white light to occur. The second experience is called the red experience. They have longer names, but it's easier to call them by their colors in this first walking through of it. This red experience is caused by the loosening and the movement of the mother element from the place 4 finger widths below the navel, moving upward toward the heart. It's an experience of redness, red light. And the person experiencing it experiences this redness. Now, there's something I forgot to mention, and that is that with these inner dissolutions, there's also a ceasing of specific mental activity. The Khenpo Rinpoche uses the word dormancy, that something becomes dormant, like grass. Lawn grass becomes dormant in the winter. When the father element is falling toward the heart and the experience of whiteness occurs, all of the mental states associated with anger become dormant. And so the person is not experiencing that. And during the period of redness, when the mother element is rising, the mental experiences connected with attachment become dormant. And then the third experience happens when the father and mother element mix and join with the remnants of the life wind at the heart, and then come apart decisively. And when these two elements come apart, this is actual death. This is why some people can be revived and other people cannot be. This was Khenpo Rinpoche's explanation of this, because he said that during this period of the white and the red, that the consciousness is still seated in the body and has not left the body as yet. It doesn't leave the body until after the father and the mother element have mixed at the heart and come apart. And this brings on the third experience, which is called black, the black experience. And the black experience is the actual ceasing of life in this body. And it is beyond that place, no one can be revived. And so this would be considered the point of no return for the being. And during the black experience, the very last vestiges of mental affliction, the mental affliction of ignorance, goes dormant. Now you see that he used the word dormancy. They don't go away completely because our mind has not stopped existing. We actually, we still have a mind, and the mind is at the moment still seated within the body. And this blackness can lead to an experience of fainting. The mind faints, essentially, because of the shock. But when one awakens from this period of blackness, the mind enters the next phase of the bardo, which is the bardo of clear light. And the mind then, with all three of the main mental afflictions, aggression, attachment, and ignorance, with all three of them dormant, there is nothing stopping the mind's Buddha nature from shining, and nothing stopping the experience of mind's brilliant, basic, pure wisdom nature. Now, in Khenpo Rinpoche's teachings, he says this doesn't last for very long. And when we were in 3-year retreat, he told us, as we were learning about the processes of death in order to help those who are dying, he said that the clear light experience, where we experience the basic nature of our mind, lasts 4 times as long as we can comfortably rest the mind in its own nature in meditation. And so this is why resting the mind in meditation is so important. Because whether we're meditating on the form of a deity and resting the mind that way, or whether we're resting the mind in the process of Tonglen meditation, or whether we're resting the mind in the practice of Mahamudra or Dzogchen, doesn't matter. However long the mind can rest, it is 4 times that length that one rests in, experiences the clear light. After this, the clear light ceases, and the consciousness, then not seated in the body any longer, departs the body and goes on to experience the rest of the bardo in a form that we would call a mental body. Anybody who's experienced themselves in a dream knows how this works. In a dream, we exist in a dream, but we exist in a different way than we exist when we are awake and walking around in the world and interacting in the world. In dreams, we have a mental body. The dream body can go through a wall. The dream body can fly. The dream body, and this is how many people recognize that they're dreaming, because they have this unimpeded mental body. And in fact, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said, if you're old and experiencing feebleness, he said, you will know that you are in the bardo when you have a youthful feel to yourself. And you feel, and all of your impaired senses return. And a friend of mine who had become blind in adulthood, he said, so this means I will know that I have died when I can see again. And the answer was, that's right. So, so then in this form of a mental body, all of the experiences of samsaric birth happen again. After the clear light concludes, all of the mental afflictions that went dormant come back. Ignorance gives rise to a sense of self. Attachment and aversion give rise to emotional states. And one is in an unimpeded but mental form moving through the bardo. And this has several different facets and several different experiences that we don't really have time to explain right now. But safe to say that experience is said to continue after death. And after death, then we can begin to make choices based on our karmic accumulation about regarding our next rebirth. We can in some manner guide our rebirth by the choices we make in the bardo. It's often said that at a certain point in the bardo, we experience the enlightening energies of our body as peaceful and wrathful deities, sometimes called the peaceful and wrathful deities of the bardo. And if we recognize them as being our own mental projection, we merge with them and then are reborn in the pure realm of that Buddha or Bodhisattva. The other type of rebirth that is talked about in the sutras is the miraculous rebirth in the pure realm of the Buddha Amitabha, which is why in Pure Land Buddhism, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, or Tibetan Pure Land Buddhism, they all talk about making the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati, or Amitabha Buddha's pure realm. And in fact, Mingyur Rinpoche, a year or two ago, gave a really lovely teaching about why it was important to believe that pure realms exist, and particularly the pure realm of Amitabha Buddha, and why it was important to ask to be reborn there. And this is because in the sutras, the Buddha Amitabha said, when I become a Buddha, may all beings be able to navigate to my pure realm is simply by wishing for it. And so one of the as my center is somewhat old, the center will turn 50 in 2027. It will celebrate its 50th anniversary. Our original founding members have many of them passed away now. And so we've experienced the passing away of about a dozen of the members of Columbus KTC over the 50 years of its existence. And there have been situations that were quite remarkable. The one I can think of right now is my friend, Bradley, who passed away within 5 days of Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche visiting him in his hospital room and instructing him to make the aspiration to be reborn in Dewa Chen, or Sukhavati, the pure realm of the Buddha Amitabha. My friend Bradley said, well, don't you have to practice Mahamudra? Isn't that what I should be making the aspiration for? And Rinpoche said, no, it's more important to be reborn in Dewa Chen, because when you're reborn in the pure realm of the Buddha Amitabha, you'll arise, see him, hear his teachings, gain enlightenment on the spot, so you won't have to practice Mahamudra meditation. He said it will happen. Mahamudra realization will happen for you automatically. And interestingly enough, Bradley, after he passed away about 5 days later, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche was still in Columbus. And although Bradley lived in a small town about 45 miles away, Khenpo Rinpoche still did the prayers of transference of consciousness and mentally transferred Bradley's consciousness to Dewa Chen. And in fact, there was a small bit of fluid at the top of his head, which indicated a successful transference. So Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche was able to do these types of blessings from a long distance. And when he himself, when Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche himself passed away a number of years later, he said, "Now I want you all to know I am going to Dewa Chen, and I want all of you to come also. So make the aspiration to join me there. I'll meet you there." So he's got a lot of his followers now making these aspirations, and hopefully we'll all get there. So I asked him one time, well, what happens? How does a person get to Dewa Chen? Do they have to like go through the whole bardo? And he said, no, actually. He said, a person who goes to Dewa Chen, he said, they bypass the bardo. They bypass it completely. And I like the idea of bypassing the bardo completely. That sounds like a really good deal to me. And in fact, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said that it was something that he hoped that we would all aspire to. So I just wanted to make sure that I explained this as best I could. And again, if you get the book either as a download from Namse Bangso or it can also be downloaded as an ebook from dharmaebooks.org. However you get the book, it would be great to get it and to make some aspirations based on it. So I've decided to, we're not supposed to conclude until the bottom of the hour at the earliest, and we could go a little longer if we needed to. But I figured I should leave a lot of time just in case people needed things repeated or described and so on. Does anybody have thoughts or questions? Yes, I see Candy has her name. Hand up. Yes.
I just want to thank you so much for these beautiful teachings and your humor and your smile and your big heart and how much I love you.
Aw,
And
you're very kind.
yeah, it's all true. Thank you so much. And I do have to leave at 2:15 to go take care of my granddaughter. So I wanted to tell you now. So if all of a sudden I'm gone, I didn't get to tell you. Thank you so much. And I hope you'll come back again soon.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I am actually hopeful that I will physically be in California later this year.
Oh, wonderful.
That's the current plan in the fall of the year. That I think that the hope is that I'll be either Lama Lodro Lamo or myself or both of us will be coming to California in the fall. So we'll cross our fingers.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, Candy, thank you. I really appreciate it. So, okay. So any other questions? Yes, yes. Hi.
So I want to check whether I remember something correctly. I think I was told many, many years ago that if one enters the bardo of clear light and even thinks of the name of Dewa Chen, that one will go there.
That's what I understood. Yep.
That's the teaching.
Yeah,
so
I've
that's
heard
why
that.
you keep reciting that now.
Right.
So.
And in fact, that's exactly right. And it's so interesting because Bradley, he got an interview with Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche 5 days before he died. I mean, what are the chances? And there were 7 people in the room who heard it, and it was translated by Yeshe Jamso, of all people, really fantastic Canadian translator, and no one recorded it. So when it was over, I made the decision to write down as much of it as I could remember, and then I showed what I wrote to Yeshe Jamso, and he said, yes, that's his memory. It was also his memory of what was said. So I feel like we can rely on this, and I've shared it with countless people in the last 10 years, 15 years. And so it's so I can also put that down as I have a link to a Dropbox of that interview where he talks about exactly what you're talking about, Christy, which is like fixing your mind on it, that this is what's going to happen. You're going to go to Dewa Chen. And in fact, there's you can even sort of rehearse in your mind going, you know, in your imagination. You can use your imagination to imagine going and coming back. So yeah. Kempo Carter, what he said was the way he put it was he said, when you arise in Dewa Chen, he said, you arise as a first level bodhisattva with all of the powers and abilities of a first level bodhisattva. And if you want to hear about these, they're described in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, the Gampopa book we talked about earlier, the sort of A to Z of Buddhist prayer and practice and teaching in the Karma Kagyu. And what Rinpoche said after that was, he said, when you arise in Dewa Chen, he said, with your eye of wisdom, you'll be able to see everyone you left behind, and you'll be able to send emanations of yourself to benefit them in their life and help protect them. And right after this happened, right after Bradley passed away and we got this teaching, I repeated this story in Kansas, and at an evening talk, because it was very, very fresh in my mind. And I realized a little bit too late that there were children in the audience. There were 2 children in the audience below the age of 8. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I should talk to their father to make sure they're okay, because this might be a scary thing for them to hear about dying and that sort of thing. And so I talked to their father the next day and I said, I'm really sorry. I said, I should have really been more aware and considered, you know, the feelings of your children and not shared that whole story. And he said, oh, no. He said, on the contrary, he said, they were very inspired by it. And in fact, you know, children, and in fact, as we were driving home that night, the kids were saying, Daddy, if we get there before you, not knowing what that meant, if we get there before you, then we'll come back and get you. Okay, Dad? And it was, I mean, not knowing what saying that would mean to their father, right? You know, if we get there before you, we'll come and find you. You know, it's okay, Dad, we got you, you know. And it was like, ah, you know, children, you know, from the mouths of innocence, right? Other things that people might want to talk about. Okay, I just had to check in. Yes, Catherine. And by the way, before you say anything, I love that T-shirt. Yeah, that's Bobcats. Is it Bobcats, right?
Yeah,
Did you
I didn't
did
even think
you-
about that when I put it on, but I know that's where you met Kempo Carter, right? in
I did
Athens.
not know. I did not meet him at Ohio University. I had graduated when I met Kempo Carter Rinpoche. I had graduated from the other university, the Ohio State University. I had graduated from that with a degree. That's awesome, though. That's really awesome. So they had, was it in one of the theater, pardon me, was it in one of the theater disciplines or?
I went as a poli-sci major, but I ended up doing a second major in theater after I
Yay, you
discovered
go.
that that was an option.
You go, Catherine, you go. Yay. Oh, that's fabulous. Well,
Um, she's frozen.
for you. And
Go wait till we
I
get her back.
attended yeah, sorry about that. There was a freeze up right after that. I was just going to say I attended a dramatic, a theatrical production there several years ago. So yeah.
Ah, good. Um, yes. So my question, just clarifying a bit, that it was it was my understanding that it's in that brief moment of the clear light,
Yeah.
would be when you would make the aspiration of Daewoo Chen, or call to the
Yeah.
deity that you are most familiar with,
Yeah.
or otherwise merge into, for me, merge into the universal love.
Yeah.
And that if you go past that, and you start to see the peaceful and wrathful deities, that is going to suck you back into a realm. That's going to
Yes.
take you into the realm that they represent.
Well, but no, but
Yeah.
here's the thing. The peaceful and wrathful deities actually have pure realms, and you can actually merge
Okay.
with them and be reborn there. So you've got some chances. It's because they're very bright, because in here they talk about the deities are very bright, and in fact it's kind of painful to look at them. But at the same time they appear, there are these like muted, comforting lights. But you have to go for the bright ones, because the muted, comforting ones take you to a different realm of samsara, a samsaric rebirth. That's the idea. But yes, but if you've done any deity practice of any kind, you'll go like, oh, I know you. And then that's all you need to do. It's just, oh yeah. And it's that fast, because I mean, think about how fast dreams change. Dreams change like that, right? And you're going to be in the same kind of experience, right? But in terms of Daewoo Chen, I need to get a little more granular on that, on the whole business, because Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said that rebirth in Daewoo Chen is just something you think about before you pass, before you pass away. And that actually, he said, this is why that quotation from Trungpa Rinpoche was so important, because the quotation from Trungpa Rinpoche said that what you do at the time you are dying it's going to kind of like aim you for where you're going to go next. And this is why peace, having a peaceful atmosphere, having supportive, loving people around is so important. And so I need to get with someone who knows this to get more granular on this. And I think the person that I would ask would be Lama Tashi Dunda, the Lama at the Kagyu Center in Toronto, because he is an expert on POA. And he's the one who taught it at KTD Monastery. He's taught it twice now, and they're asking him to come back in 2025 and teach it again. So if I had the chance, I would ask him that more granular question. Is it only during the clear light, or is it before? Because Khenpo Rinpoche told Bradley, think about it now. Be convinced. Don't have any doubt about it. Just, you're going there, man. You're going. And that will actually be the propelling thought that will move. That's why it's so important to have that peaceful atmosphere around people. And Rinpoche himself, what he did was he recorded his own voice chanting all of the prayers. So he said, even though I may not be able to be here with you when you pass, my voice will be there. So just listen to my voice and make your aspirations. And it's really interesting because because I live in the same town where Bradley lived, and his wife called me after he passed away and said, will you come and pray at the bedside? I said, absolutely. I said, Rinpoche's doing the POA, I'll come and pray. So I did. I came and prayed, and I talked to the licensed practical nurse who was the hospice worker on duty when he passed. And she said, yep. She said, I had that CD. I didn't understand a word of it, but he really liked it, because every time the chanting would stop, she said, about setting me crazy. She said, she said, every time that chanting would stop, he would get a little restless. And so I'd put it back on again, and then he'd settle down, So he was listening to Rinpoche's voice. See, and I mean, those are available. Those recordings are available. Just write to me. I
was also curious when you previous to that, when you were describing the the woman that died at the while you were in
Yeah.
3-year retreat, and Rinpoche was there. Do you, I assume a similar thing, that he would have done a similar thing at that moment too?
Yes, in fact, that is something very interesting because even though he said to me, I mean, he was so absolutely transparent and frank about the whole thing. He just told me everything. So I'm hoping it's okay to talk about it. But he said she had never intimated to me whether she had attained awakening during her lifetime. She had never told him, like, oh, I became a first level bodhisattva during my lifetime. She had never revealed that to him. So he said, for her to die in a state of meditation was good, but if you haven't already attained during your life, it can actually lead to a rebirth in one of the formless God realms, and you don't want that. So he said, he said, I took the decision to do the transference and send her to Dewa Chen. And, and like, bless him. He wanted to talk about it. But she still had this incredibly remarkable experience, right? And so, and then the blessing of that rebirth, my gosh, so, hey, Joan, it's like, but anyway, I'm sorry. I missed your question, Catherine. Was there a question that I missed?
That pretty much that answered it. Thank you. And I think Ani has a question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you,
Just
Catherine.
just a follow-up clarification. So
Sure.
I'll just use me because I know me. I've been doing Red Tara meditation for years and years and years. So, and I've been kind of training my mind to go there. And then she go to Dewa Chen. So maybe I should be doing something else.
Well, here's what Rinpoche said. Because I got asked this question by a follower of Green Tara, like, shouldn't I, and Rinpoche said, if you can go to Dewa Chen, it's a little easier to get in because of Amitabha's aspiration that everybody would get in. And he said, and then once you get there,
You froze.
can anywhere. And so he said, then you can. I'm sorry. Yes, I understand that it froze up. I'll repeat. Yeah, he said that he said it's fine. He said, but it's probably better to be reborn in Dewa Chen because he said once you get there, you can go anywhere. You can go to Tara's realm. You can go to Red Tara's realm in the morning, Green Tara's in the afternoon. I mean, he said it's just, and there is no morning and afternoon, of course. But I mean, but I mean, like, that's how it's expressed. So once you get there, you can go anywhere, and it will actually, the fact that you've sort of programmed yourself to go there, you'll get there. There's no question. You'll have to have like a little, little pass through, Yeah. I have, but it's okay to make the aspiration to be reborn with Tara as well. But Khenpo Rinpoche, he said it's a little better. Dewa Chen's a little better, because he said the other pure realms, it's a little harder to get in, because in many of the pure realms, you have to already have achieved the first level of bodhisattva awakening during your lifetime, or had a vision of the, or had a vision of the deity in your lifetime. Vision, not just like, oh, I'm imagining her, but she's really there. Yeah. So if you haven't had the vision before nighttime, then it's probably, before the setting of your sun, then it's probably a good thing to be reborn.
So what is a good way to train one's mind to center on Dewa Chen?
Okay, here's what Mingyur Rinpoche did in his talk, which now I can't find anywhere, so it must be behind a paywall now. But Mingyur Rinpoche said something like, "Oh, I'll give you Amitabha's address." Mingyur Rinpoche, he's so quaint and so wonderful how he expresses things. He says, "I'll give you his address," and basically, it is you think of him, you make offerings to him, you make the aspiration and you dedicate the merit. I mean, it's basically you practice some form of Amitabha meditation. And even if all you can do is recite the prayer to be reborn in Dewa Chen every day, the one that's in our there's a short Amitabha practice, and I will try my best. Hey, Catherine, maybe you and me could work together by email so that could you help me and remember what all I have to send? You could put
Yeah, and I think I may have that because it's what the Santa Monica group does right after the Chinrezi. Yeah.
Yes, that would be great. That is exactly what they do. That's exactly it. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Thank
you
you.
and me can kind of tag team this, okay? You know, you and me can tag team this and get what they need, get everything they need in a list. Because I'm afraid that with my age, and if I don't write it down, sometimes when I write it down, I actually lose the paper. It's like, oh no, can it be any worse, you know? But so having a helper is more likely you'll get the things. But yeah, I do have one story to tell. I do have one story to tell about Dewa Chen from the point of view of the ultimate, because every Lama has a different way of talking about Dewa Chen, right? So so let's go back a few years. This is before 2005. Maybe it was a couple years before 2005 when Khyentse Tsultrim Gyaltsen was doing one of his last tours of the United States before retiring. He went to Hartford, Connecticut, and I got to go and attend the teachings there. And during one of his teachings, he was asked a Dewa Chen question as sort of a random question, and the person said, well, Rinpoche, you read in the sutras that Dewa Chen, it looks like a park. There's grass and it's a nice, beautiful green grass, and there's trees, with flowers, and there's birds, and and the person said, is Dewa Chen really like that? And he said, no, of course not. He said Dewa Chen is beyond human thinking, right? It's beyond our ability to even imagine what it is. It is the state of Buddhahood itself. He said, but for the benefit of beings, to fulfill the promise of the Buddha Amitabha, it appears this way. And it's written about this way, but it's really beyond anything that we could describe. It could actually be that universal love and compassion. It could be, he says it's the state of Buddhahood, but for the benefit of sentient beings, it's described in ways that they can relate to. So that was wonderful to hear that teaching. It meant a lot to me because it meant that any concept that I might have it doesn't matter what my concept is. But except that Rinpoche told me I should meet him there. So I'm going to make good on that. He asked, he never steered me wrong. So I'm going to go. There's time for a few more. Are there a few more questions?
Is Khyentse Tsultrim still hanging in there?
He is still living. Yes, he is still living. And they are preparing. I think he just may have celebrated like a 90-something birthday. Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, the way I heard it, and this may or may not be a true story, but the way I heard it was that the 17th Karmapa said to him, listen, Rinpoche, I know that you are an awakened being. And as an awakened being, you can determine how long you live. So please, for all of us, please live a very long time. But I don't know. I
He's been in a coma.
don't know.
Hmm.
That's true or not, but what an amazing life, you know. Thank you for asking about that. Okay. Other questions? So where do we go from here? You know, where do we take this information? How do we take this information into our everyday life? I think that's the final thing to talk about. I think that we can take this information into our daily life by making aspirations, making aspirations when we wake up in the morning, as we're going through our day, and as we go to sleep at night, to be of benefit to all sentient beings. I think taking and making the bodhisattva action, taking the bodhisattva intention and action to be of benefit to whoever we encounter, this really makes our life a blessing to everyone we meet. The previous Kalu Rinpoche spontaneously composed a prayer in which he said, "May I benefit people who see me, hear my voice, think of me, remember me, serve me food, you know, may everyone who I encounter be benefited by this encounter, and may we all become Buddhas together." And this is something that Khenpo Tsultrim Gyamtso also took to heart, because when he would go to a Dharma center, he would frequently ask to go to a cafe in the center of the city and look out the windows at masses of people going by in New York City, Chicago, everywhere he went. He asked to be taken to a very busy place where he could sit and drink tea and make aspirations for all sentient beings. And I just think about that and the heart that is behind that, the sort of pure heart that's behind that. May people who even see me for a moment, may they remember this, and may it be a benefit to them. This helps people like myself who can sometimes feel self-conscious. Sometimes we can feel self-conscious, like maybe we think someone is staring at us, and we might feel uncomfortable, and we might be tempted to say something sharp to the person we think is staring at us. You know, what are you looking at? We might act in a bad way, but what if instead we closed our eyes and mentally thought, may whatever you see be of benefit to you? So we can take these teachings into our everyday life. We can do what Lama Karma suggested. We can wake up thinking, wow, I'm not dead. And wow, I have a day ahead of me where I can do good and I can benefit beings. And we can maybe even just meditate or have a positive aspiration as we get up and go about our day. Maybe while we're doing the dishes, we might think, may all sentient beings everywhere be free of suffering. Or as we're walking down the street encountering people, we think things like, may all beings be free. May everyone who I see become a Buddha at some point in the future. And when we make mistakes, instead of giving ourselves a hard time, we think, may my mistake contain the mistakes of all beings. And may we all become Buddhas and may become free from mistakes. So, may we begin to think well of and take care of ourselves and all of these things. So these are ways that we can think about this. And yes, we can make the aspiration to be reborn in Dewa Chen, even if we don't have a text. Khenpo Rinpoche because Bradley at that point in his life, he couldn't read texts anymore. He couldn't read anymore. He couldn't function. All he could do was hear Rinpoche's voice and make the aspiration in his heart, I am going to Dewa Chen. And like I say, I'll send you copies of that interview. I talked to his wife just this week, And I said, do you know that you gave me permission many years ago to share this? And she said, did I? And I said, well, I sure hope you did, because I've been sharing it. She said, would you share it again? And I said, absolutely. And she was very pleased to have it again. She had lost track of her copy. Mm. And these are things that we can do right now to make our life, as she said, just internalizing the wish to be of benefit to beings. Just internalizing that wish to be of benefit to beings is a powerful thing itself. He says it starts a momentum of goodness within you that eventually becomes self-sustaining. And I've talked to several people who've actually I had an older person who's a Dharma practitioner say to me the other day, I don't know why, but I feel happy a lot. I don't know why. I'm old and I hurt, but I kind of feel happy. And I think that it's the reason is this person's really internalized the wish to benefit beings, and that has started this momentum of goodness within them. And it brings about that joy that Christy was talking about, that's talked about in a Great Path of Awakening, always have the support of a joyful mind. And so your mileage may vary, your results may be different, but it's worth checking into, worth looking into. So I think I know we started a bit late this afternoon, but I feel like we've come to a good conclusion. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yes.
You good?
Lama Kathy, I just wanted to
Yeah.
share one more thing real quick.
Yes, please. Please.
Because this was just a point that something that was a little bit of confusion for me, that I'm going to quote from something that Pema said during a teaching on living purposefully and dying fearlessly. She doesn't say she doesn't attribute to which teacher gave this advice. But says that when I was on a 3-year retreat, we were studying with some of the Bardo teachings and so forth. And on the subject of the pure realms came up. One of my Vajra sisters there in the retreat said, I don't want to be born in a pure realm. I took the Bodhisattva vow. I want to come back to help people in the human realm. So it was clarified for us. Oh no, you'll still come back into the human realm, but first you go to the pure realm and you can advance much faster there. It's like a place where it speeds up your spiritual awakening so that when you come back to fulfill your bodhisattva vow in a samsaric realm, you're much better prepared. So the pure realm sounded pretty good. You would go to the pure realm by aspiring to do so in the bardo of becoming and expressing this longing. And then you would be drawn in that direction. And that's how it would happen. And this had been a question for me for about, but I took the Bodhisattva vow to come back and help people.
Yes.
And so I found that very helpful.
I really appreciate you sharing this, because this is really valuable, because Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche was also asked this question and he said exactly the same thing, which is that when you go to the pure realm, you'll be able to, as he said to Bradley, with your eye of wisdom, you're going to actually see everyone that you left behind, and you're going to be able to actually emanate into their lives and help them. And you'll also be able to actually emanate in lots of places and benefit lots more beings. You become more capable of benefiting beings. He says, so you're better able to carry out your bodhisattva vow. So really, really appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. This is awesome. This is what I love about Sangha. If one person doesn't think of something, the other one does, and we get a much fuller teaching this way. So thank you. Yeah. And so I'd like to again thank all of you for making this happen. And yeah, as Lonnie says, a beautiful teaching, a lot to chew on. Yes, I know we have so much to do, right? You know, but it's okay because it's not so hard, you know. It's a love and compassion and Daewha Chen. I mean, it gets pretty easy, right? Love and compassion, Daewha Chen. Bodhisattva vow, Daewha Chen. You can, you know, just those two things, it'll work. But thanks again to the folks at Solana Beach. You guys are amazing. I understand you guys were cold. How are you feeling today? Are you warmer?
We brought warmer clothes.
Very good. I am so sorry that you had to go through that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know, so I'm happy that you are warmer today. That's really good. And also thank you because you helped us raise $1,300 for Columbus KTC. And again, me and Catherine will talk about how we're going to do this, but I'll send you a link to a little collection of pictures from our shrine planning session today. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So anyway, hopefully this will all go well for all of us and we'll get back together again, here, there, or everywhere.
Yes,
And
we hope you come to see us.
yeah, like I say, I'm looking toward the fall. And so let's all keep in touch, you know, because then when I go to Santa Monica, then we can, you know, we can kind of make some plans.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm only going to go to like maybe 2 or 3 centers this year. I'm older now, you know, and it's not as easy for me to travel. So I'm going to do about 2 or 3 centers. I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go to the Southwest and I'm going to go to to California. So, and I'm also teaching on the East Coast too. So lots of things happening. So let's dedicate the merit. We make the aspiration that through this teaching, all beings are freed from suffering and come to Buddhahood. I'll recite a short prayer in English. Through this merit, may all achieve the omniscience of Buddhahood. May it defeat our common enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. May we free all beings. May we free all beings. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah, everyone be well. And Robin, thank you for making the recording. It'll probably be on iRobin, correct?
It is indeed.
You're sweet. Thank you, dear. Okay.
.org/Sangha.
Yeah, iRobin. Okay, good. All right. Take good care, my friends. Omane Padme Hum.